it's What If Wednesday time with Susan Bennett Fisher and Martin Fisher, the co-founders of Body of Nine. Hey, it's What If Wednesday time again.
Welcome to What If Wednesday.
What If Wednesday with Susan Fisher
and Martin Fisher, and it's good to see you guys.
With Body of Nine.
Body of Nine.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Body of Nine versus other personality systems. What's the difference? Over the years, many personality systems have developed to help us understand ourselves more effectively and more powerfully, to help us be better people and to relate with others more easily. Those are all fundamental concepts for Body of Nine as well. And both Martin and I have experienced many personality systems. I think the first time I got introduced to personality system was Myers-Briggs, and I'm an ENFP. Proud of it, love it, way out on all those scales, and really got a tremendous amount out of finding out I was an ENFP, because it really acknowledged my extroversion, my intuitiveness, that I feel, and in my decisions, and so it was a really nice validation.
Well, that's interesting, because I've done DISC, Strength Finder is another one whose name I've no idea. I did Myers-Briggs, but I have no idea, don't remember what my result was, but I remember resonating with it mostly, but also wishing that I wasn't necessarily what it said I was. And some of that was because I was filling in the answers because how I wanted to be, not necessarily how I was. And I think that's probably one of the major issues that I have with many of these systems, because they all come from similar background. Jung or whoever else was coming up, there was a lot of, and still are a lot of statistical studies being done. It's kind of interesting that this happened. A lot of these numbers came up at the beginning when computers were invented, because IBM was looking for a way to hire the best people. And they had all these punch cards, and they could actually do a lot of statistical analysis based on what people said, how they behaved, and all those things.
Yeah, so computers enabled us to actually do the analysis. So that's actually a really important point, because these personality systems start with asking people lots of questions, and then taking those questions and distilling them down into groups of answers. And so they are as good as the statistical method used to group them.
And when we talk about the Body of Nine, yes, there's a lot of talking that goes on. That we have, just like everybody else that has built all these psychological models, we have asked a lot of questions. So the asking of questions and grouping people by answers is not invalid in any shape, size, or form.
No, and all these systems built on that have valid,
valid and very useful, and they've been used in industry now for 50 plus years.
Right.
The interesting question that comes out of any sort of identification system is, how do you measure the person you're looking at? How do you measure your individual? And the 99.9% of all systems that are out there, and except for Body of Nine and potentially the Chinese face groupings, but there's not exactly a well-known system, are based on how does someone group you. And whether it's the Enneagram based on those 9, or whether it's Myers-Briggs or DISC, it's about how do people that are trained in measuring other people put you into a bucket. But that training to measure other people is not based on your physicality. It's based on your behavior.
On your behavior and how you answer questions. And, Martin alluded to the how you answer questions. Often we answer questions based off of what we think we should be saying, what our mothers want us to say, what we want to believe about ourselves. It's very rare that we actually can answer those questions consistently from our deepest place.
And so people have spent years, tens of years, thousands of hours figuring out how to write questionnaires that are supposed to remove a lot of these inaccuracies, a lot of these, well, how do I want to answer it? Because if you ask the same question 10 different ways, you're going to, with subtle differences, those subtle differences should, emphasis should, show up and give you a much better, accurate answer of what that person actually believes rather than what that person thinks he should be believing.
If you're looking at groupings and taking nuance in language, one of the things that's really important that personality systems don't take into account is the nuance within language that actually is related to our physicality.
Yeah.
Turns out, based off your natural number, you actually have different definitions that come from how your body is perceiving something. So words like intuition and connection, engagement, energy, respect, they mean something really, really different
to each of the natural numbers. And so a lot of the background, a lot of the testing, a lot of the quote, science behind some of these questionnaires is based on actually removing some of the reality of the people that are taking it, because there is not this understanding that people's physicality determines their experience of the world.
Right.
And that is what Body of Nine
It's just
is.
that concept is missing.
Completely missing.
From the tests. As a result, they're an intellectual exercise. How do I want to answer this question today? What interpretation do I want to place on these words today?
And it depends a large amount on in what environment are you going to be using this exercise. So it's great. All these tools are great ways to understand yourself. They're great ways to understand other people. And they are a useful starting point to improve business processes, business relationships, and personal relationships.
And what they give you essentially is a description of your nurture, how you've been raised and how you tend to respond. And they're very behavior based, but they don't explain behavior. So there's no understanding for why a person does that behavior. Whereas in the Body of Nine system, we can tell you why a person does something.
So let's step back. These systems are all great, but they're all missing something. And let's start on what is it they're missing. And so we'll start with the Body of Nine. And the thing that all these other systems are missing is the physicality. Your body grows based on your natural number. So your natural number is not based on questions. Whether your ego says it or whether your mother thinks you should be doing it or your father should be doing it or you think your boss wants that. It's a physical reality that Body of Nine discovers.
It's born in your body. There are 9 centers. One is born active, and it shapes everything about you. How you grow, where you move from, how you interact with other people, what you care about. It's so fundamental to how you perceive that you don't actually know that other people aren't perceiving the way you are. And that's completely missing from our personality systems.
And so the Enneagram and Body of Nine are pretty much the only 2 systems we're aware of that come up with just a number. And a number because numbers can be described, but they are standalone entities. If you could say someone was clever, there's a million ways that clever could be made. Someone is intuitive. Well, there's actually 9 different ways that someone could be intuitive.
Right.
So just that number gives you a place of understanding your nature. It's not a 4-letter acronym. It's not wings. It is literally, this is what your body knows who you are.
And it influences how you take in information, your body, your perception. So learning to activate another natural number actually gives you access to other perceptions. So the applicability of this is quite significant, because I'm not only me, but I can also learn to be more like Martin and integrate with him by using my body, which creates a shift in my perspective and how my senses are working.
Yes, one of the things that happens, you get identified saying, what is your disc number, or what is your human nature described, your Enneagram. Once you know that, what do you do next? How do you use that? It's an awareness. It is a label, if you will, that describes how you responded based on how you were thinking at that time. There is no physically actionable work that you can do when you know your disc. Or if you know your Myers-Briggs, how do you action that? Well, when you know your natural number, we help you understand what movement can you do to improve your life. It is literally
So
a simple movement. Susan does her
I lift
thing.
my chest.
I do my thing. And you will do your thing. And that is all you need to do to get back to be the core part of who you are.
To get present, to be in the moment, if that's your natural number. But a lot of the natural numbers, their core thing is actually not being present in the moment. It's actually getting information from other realms, and so we are judging each other based off the differences in our physiology. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. The other fun part of knowing your natural number is that we don't need you to fill in a questionnaire.
Right.
And that's great. Children from maybe 10, 12, 14 onwards can fill in a questionnaire.
Sort of.
Sort of. They may or may not know. They may not have that personal awareness. But we can identify children before they can speak. We can identify people that can't speak. We've worked with people that actually have significant physical problems and have overcome that. Disabilities. So that we can identify people in any shape, size or form, because the communication is not necessary. It is, what is your body and how does it move? Or how is it even energetically projecting?
So it's the shape and the muscle hold in the face. It's the quality in the eye. It's the how your body grows and develops. It's where you move from and your energetic signature. So those are all body-based indicators of your natural number. And they're so consistent when you learn to see them. If you see a 6, they have expanded chests. They gesture around this part of the body. There's an intensity and vibration to their voice. There's a aliveness in their eyes. And that's true for every 6 out there. Every 5, they have a little more space between their nose and their upper lip. They have bigger heads. They have very round observing eyes. These are physical characteristics that are consistent across a natural number.
One of the things that I found when I was doing these other tests was, okay, so-and-so has said this about me. It was an intellectual exercise, as Susan said, and I had to believe based on what they told me. And that's kind of problematic, because if I didn't answer the test quite the way that was truly me, and someone says, well, this is who you are, and the authority then says this is who you are, you have to take that on belief. And one of the things that we try really, really hard to do is to make sure that when people have the experience of finding out their natural number, they feel it in their body. There is a core acknowledgement and honouring of who they are at that very physical layer. And that's just impossible to do if you're already filling in a questionnaire.
Right. Right. And it's part of why we don't have a questionnaire version of Body of 9. You have to get online with us. We have to see you. We have to interact with you. We have to feel who you are in order to know your natural number. And in order to be able to identify, we also need to be able to activate all those areas in our body in order to sense that in you.
Right. And so, for example, if you're doing the Enneagram, you know your Enneatype. We, using the Body of 9, can give you what it's like to experience the other 8 Enneatypes. Using Body of 9, you can experience what it's like to be the other types in the Myers-Briggs system or the DISC system. You can experience the world the way that other people do. And the first time that happens, it is astonishing how different other people's lives are, because your physical reality is determined by your natural number, how your senses work, how you move, what you care about, and importantly for this discussion, what words mean. And just intellectually grasping that the words you use mean something completely different to somebody else, even the same words. It's almost like you're speaking another language, even though you're speaking the same language. And it is a major, major source of misunderstanding.
Right. When you're listening to me speak versus Martin speak, you may understand one of us better than the other. So like when Martin talks, you may tune out. Or when I talk, you may tune out. Or you may hear more clearly what is being said because you may have more familiarity with the way my natural number versus Martin's.
And we work really, really hard to make sure that when we're talking, we're looking at you. And normal response.
Those of you who like that.
Yes, those of you that like it.
4 out of 9.
And those of you that don't like it or don't care probably wouldn't notice.
Yes.
But it's important. If we spend our time just looking down, not looking at the sun, then some of you won't be able to hear us. Some of you might think we're being disrespectful. Now, obviously we're looking over the camera, but this is true in life as well.
So our bodies are constantly informing us in particular ways. We can expand that body awareness to include many more perceptive abilities. This is the fundamental difference between Body of 9 and a personality model.
Yeah, because your personality model, no matter which one you take, will not tell you what physiological things you can do to relate better to other people. It can give you some intellectual ideas, but there's no system on the planet that's going to say this person,
besides Body of 9,
but it's going to say that this person is going to respond to you better if you look at them. You're going to be told, eye contact is vital.
Right. You
Because-
must make eye contact when you're going networking.
Yes.
How many times have you heard that? Shake hands and look somebody in the eye. But what if somebody doesn't want to look you in the eye, or they shut down when they look you in the eye?
I can look at you in the eye when I'm talking to you. If I'm really thinking, what am I going to say next? There's not a lot of here. And you can look me in the eye as much as you like, and looking me in the eye with a big smile. I may shut down because that's just wonderfully exciting and a great experience to be with someone that is beaming joy at me. But I can't process like that.
A powerful example of our physiological differences that are really not understood out in the world.
Not at all.
So I want to circle back around to the beginning when we talked about the study of the psychological models. So they took people, they asked questions, they create groups. We did it the other way around. We took people, we identified them into their associated natural number, then we asked them questions. And we found the synthesis of the answers. We said, okay, this is true. This is language that's always used by every single natural number 5 that we encountered.
Or 1 or 2.
Or 1 or any of the natural. So the words that we use when we describe your reality come from people exactly like you.
So we didn't ask 1,000 people and then put the people into those buckets. We asked 1,000 people of each number.
Right.
What is it that's important to you? How do you speak? We had those conversations. We put groups of people together of the same number. We listened. We asked questions.
We observed.
And
we distilled.
And we
this
just
very specific set of
because
language.
1,000 people are going to give you 1,000 answers, but of those 1,000 answers, there's going to be a core commonality. And we as observers, now trained observers, we've been working with 7,500 people now, and we always test. Every time we meet someone, we're always reinforcing, we're always checking, confirming, because everyone has a different nurture.
If we meet you and we identify you, the next time we see you, we look at you again as if it was brand new. And if your natural number isn't more present, we may start again with you.
And if you're not happy, if you haven't become more of yourself, because when we get it right, which is most of the time now, thank goodness, practice, people change. This is the start, your natural number, finding out your natural number, finding and having the experience, the physical, intellectual, and spiritual experience of connecting yourself changes lives.
And this is another really fundamental difference. It's like, well, I found out my ENFP, and that was good because they acknowledged me. But I found out my natural number, and all of a sudden I got stronger and stronger and stronger.
Finding out my disc, finding out my Enneagram didn't change me. It was an interesting piece of awareness, but it didn't change me. Finding out my natural number started a change that is ongoing to this day.
Yes, ongoing. Continual still, even as we grow. So the first step is to get identified. Then you start to change, whether you want to or not, whether you're aware of it or not. Oftentimes we see the changes and nobody else sees them, but they're there and they're real and they're tangible.
At the same time, there's a lot of coincidental changes and things that happen, and that's great. If it's just coincidence, that's awesome too, but we always see people change. Once you're connected to yourself, once you understand how you make decisions, why you make decisions, your body is going to start working with you. It doesn't have to protect you. Your ego gets to be a partner, not a controller. And you get to make the choices that are in alignment with your life. And fortunately, most people we work with have already made the choices to make their lives more in alignment with their natural number. But there's a few that haven't. But very shortly after getting their natural number, they made choices in their lives. If you're not sure what is your life about, if you're not sure what should you be doing, if you're not sure what is next, if you're not sure who you are, finding out your natural number will help you down that path. And I semi-jokingly say, in 6 months after finding out your natural number, you will be happier, you will be more in alignment. And we've been saying that now for 4 or 5 years, and honestly, nobody's ever come back and said, it's been 6 months, I haven't changed. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that may be because they're not interested enough, but we don't know.
We don't know. That's okay.
But yeah, we get nothing but positive feedback, as it turns out. So I think that's a really nice summary of the difference. Body of 9, body-based. We look at your body and it tells us who you are. We know what that means because of all of the people we've talked to of those bodies. So then we give you an actionable plan that you can actually do something with.
Simple physical motion to get back to yourself.
To recover, and we teach you how to activate your observer so you can look at your behaviors and choose how you respond. So it helps you handle trauma and helps you recover when things are hard. So we have lots of wonderful physical ways of expanding your reality, to learn to activate the others, to...
if you really want to step out in the world in a way that you can relate to everybody you meet so much more easily, in so much in a way that you'll get better response for yourself and for others, then learn to activate the other 8 it's a mind-blowing experience. It is really, really life-changing.
And it's applicable for you as an individual, you in a relationship, and you in your workplace.
Because, as we've said before, and you may or may not be aware, the numbers don't repeat in families. You and your brothers and sisters are not like you. Your parents are not like you. Your children are not like each other or like you. Unless, of course, there's more than 9 people in your family, immediate family. But that's not so often these days. But at work, most businesses that of any sort of size have all 9. Most teams have all 9. And the interesting thing has been our experience with the small number of teams, sports teams we've worked with, is that by rearranging who's doing what, you can take advantage of each person's physical strengths as well as their natural number. And apparently it's a lot more fun.
Yes. So there's a lot more here. We thank you for listening, and we will be talking about... What do we talk about next week?
I'm not sure. Something wonderful.
Something wonderful.
We love you all, and thanks for listening.
Look at our page, our Facebook page, our social media, and that'll tell you what's going on next week.
Yeah, any questions and stuff, just get in touch with us, and have a great day.